Missed calls, slow replies, and scattered conversations aren't just annoying, they're money left on the table. Make this the year you prioritize your business communications with Quo, spelled Q-U-O. Quo gives your entire team one shared business number for calls and texts, so nothing gets lost and everyone sees the full conversation. You can keep your existing number, easily add teammates, sync your CRM, and scale as you grow. Plus, Quo's built-in AI automatically logs calls, summarizes conversations, and highlights next steps, so nothing slips through the cracks, even after hours. That's why Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by over 90,000 businesses. Make this the year where no opportunity slips away. Try Quo for free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/tryquo. That's QUO.com/tryquo. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers.
You're listening to the Archaeology Podcast Network.
Welcome to episode 31 of Ethnocynology. I'm your host, David Ian Howe. I am back from Mexico. I was not kidnapped by the cartels, as many people texted me my last day that I left the day after that happened. So I got a bunch of texts from like friends and colleagues. My parents didn't text me until like the next day because they were like not watching the news, I guess, which I found funny. But yeah, I am back. Had an awesome trip. It was really cool. I don't even know where to begin with all of that, but this will again be an audio only episode. So for those of you listening here, yeah, this is exclusive to you. Maybe I'll do another video on this later. That's more like structured, but yeah, for now, this is audio only. So congrats. I am at my parents' house in Knoxville, Tennessee right now. So I flew from Mexico City to Houston to Nashville and then drove from Nashville to Knoxville to get here. So if this is echoey, I'm not in my studio right now. I'm in my parents' guest room. So that's why it's echoey. I also have a cold, the same one I had in the last episode that has not gone away, and drinking nonstop Coronas and Victorias and mezcal for 2 weeks did not seem to cure it. So I'm still a little bit sick. I had to get Mexican, I had to go to like a consultorio behind. They have this is a long story, but there's like pharmacies in Mexico called Farmacia Familiar, and it has a mascot named Dr. Simi, and he's just like this Little Caesars, Kentucky Fried Chicken looking dude that hangs outside like a mascot, and he waves and he brings you into the pharmacy. Apparently that guy who owns that company, or his brother, will be the next president of Mexico. I learned that from many people, but whole thing. Yes, I go in there and I tell the guy in like his best Spanish as I can, like, hey, I think I have a sinus infection because I've had this cold that hasn't gone away for like 2 weeks and I'm like blowing crazy shit out of my nose. And then he like gave me a prescription for steroids, but I didn't know the name of them in Spanish or English. It was like a different word. I forget what it's called. So I had to like look that up, and I used ChatGPT really quick to just be like, hey, make sure I'm like not getting whatever. And then they don't give you antibiotics in pill form or like liquid form. It's literally like an injection. So I had to do 4 days of injections, some of them with antibiotics, into my butt. And then I had to pay the guy another 15 pesos to like show me how to do it. Cause I was like, I don't know how to mix this up. What am I, like a heroin addict? And he showed me how to do all that, which was quite funny. So I'm doing that, stabbing myself with a needle, still a little sick somehow. I need to see an American doctor. Not that he didn't know what he was doing. I might just need to clear up some residual crap. But yeah, he told me I should be good in like a day or two. And I did feel instantly better like the next day. Like my head congestion went away, but I still have a cold. Yeah, I felt fine. So I need to go see the doctor. Oh, right. What I was going to say was it was 30 pesos for the consultation. And then it was, I think, like 450 pesos for the meds. And then another 15 to have him inject them, like mix it and inject the meds for me. So I'm going to look that up really quick. So 30 plus 450 plus, what did I say, 15 pesos. Let's see, really quick. Conversion, 28.86 USD to see the doctor, to get a bunch of meds, and to even have the doctor inject the meds was $28, and it took me less than 20 minutes. Now, the benefit of that is we don't have cartels blowing up our streets and buses in Puerto Vallarta. So I guess I'll take that trade-off, but I think their healthcare system might be a little better, but that is a topic for a different day. Other than that, my first part of the trip, I went to, all right, welcome to episode 31, by the way. We're just talking here. The first part of the trip, I went to Oaxaca. And if you're not familiar with Mexican geography, Oaxaca is almost down towards Guatemala. You're not in the Yucatan, but it's like south of Mexico City, almost east enough to Guatemala. It's still deserty, and it's like part of where Mexico narrows down. So like there's a beach to the north of you and a beach to the south of you, but I didn't go to the beach and I couldn't see it from where it was. But Oaxaca was a delightful city. I'd never been. I've been to Puerto Vallarta, I've been to Cancun, I've been to Tepic, Nayarit, I've been to northern parts of Mexico, like where the desert is, but I've never been to like a small town Mexican city. And this was really cool. I can see why people move there. It was beautiful. And what was interesting about Oaxaca is that historically, that is where the Zapotec are from. And Monte Alban is there. There was a Zapotec stronghold. We'll talk about that. But mainly, the Zapotec did not get conquered by the Aztecs or the Nahuas or the Mexica, because the year that they were building forts around Oaxaca to take Monte Alban and to take over the Zapotec like strongholds is the year that Cortez showed up. So the Aztecs got pummeled by them and their, all the allies around the Aztecs that hated them, and basically told the Spanish told the Zapotecs, like, hey, we got rid of the Aztecs for you. Just bend the knee, convert to Catholicism, we'll leave you alone. And they were like, okay. So the Zapotecs retained a lot of their culture. So a lot of people down there still speak Zapotec. So I Day of the Dead, and I was down there for Carnival, is like still very like indigenously linked and really cool in that sense. And they've retained a lot of their indigeneity, and that's really cool. A lot of the people look very indigenous down there. It's like a thing or a meme there, I guess. And the other thing too was I was strikingly tall, which is something I am not used to. I'm 5'5". I was like a foot taller than some people there, and it was very startling for me to see. Pretty crazy. Very small people. And then I've heard of people in the Yucatan, like the Maya, are like even smaller than that, which is kind of crazy. I'd like to see myself standing next to them. I would like to see Carlton standing next to them. Very cool. But yeah, we went to Monte Alban, which is like the Zapotec stronghold. It's on the top of this huge mountain. There's a ball court. There's multiple pyramids. There's like, you just look it up, Monte Alban, Alban. Really cool spot. Really cool archaeology. And as soon as I got in there, I noticed like how many skeletons and skulls were around at the museum, which was just jarring to me because we don't have that in the States. You can actually do archaeology there. No offense to the rules, but yeah, it was impressive to see that. And like just a burial of like a king at Monte Alban was like pretty cool. You couldn't show that in the States. And I kept wigging out and telling my friends like, oh my God. Yeah, ball court, huge pyramids, stelae all over the place, like some stuff. And what they did at Monte Alban was like genital mutilation. I know like you probably thinking like maybe corn or their specialty or like basket weaving, but that was their specialty. For some reason, it was like a ceremonial thing they would do there to captives at the top of this mountain. I couldn't ask for a prettier place to have that done, I guess. But yeah, so a lot of the stelae and the statues had like that action being done, or like at least like a denotation on someone's genital area that they were removed, which is interesting. I noticed that on a lot of them. And let me think of how else to phrase this. I don't know why. I can't remember. I took pictures of like what the meaning behind that was, but they did that. Monte Alban was crazy. And this guy dressed as Albert Einstein was there. And I asked him in Spanish, can I get a photo with you? And then he, in perfect English, was like, oh, of course. And he had this like really New York, like old timey Jewish accent for some reason, but he was from Mexico City. I guess he was trying to sound like Albert Einstein, but Albert Einstein was German. Took a picture with him. And then I was like, why are you dressed like Albert Einstein? And why are you up here at the top of the world? And he was like, he gave me some non-answer of like, basically it's just his shtick. And he takes pictures as Albert Einstein in like famous places around Mexico. And I was like, oh, okay. Chill guy. And then he was on the bus with us later and then asked where we can go get a beer. we went back to Oaxaca that day and went to Carnival, like a Carnival celebration that wasn't Fat Tuesday, but it was just Carnival. People dancing, walking down the street with colors and like just chugging mezcal and beer with like demonic masks on and stuff. Just like, your typical Mexican Day of the Dead looking kind of stuff, but like more demonic looking, which I found funny. People were having a blast. I met up with a friend, got drinks. That was fun. That I met through Instagram. So it was like cool getting like local lore and history and like what the culture's like there. And many other things we did in Oaxaca was mezcal distilleries. And I'm not a drinker, but taking 5 to 10 samples of mezcal before 12 p.m. every day was was a lot for me. So new, but I really enjoyed the process of like how that was made. And it's like tequila whiskey, essentially, the way it's like aged and fermented and barreled. But yeah, the process of that, you have to hike and get all of these like specific types of agave, and they like hike them down on mules or donkeys, and then like distill them and they chop them, and then they give you like pieces of the agave plant to eat, like the heart of palm essentially, but the heart of the agave, and you can chew on it, and it's really sweet. I'm not exactly sure how to compare the taste, but it was just very good. Did a bunch of that, but yeah, that was cool. And then we went to one distillery, which is very fancy and like new. Then we went to another one. They're called Palenques, like the mezcal distilleries. And the new one was, or not the new one, the older one that was like had less money, I guess. But we just like paid these old ladies to like cook us food. And we brought like a bunch of meat and onions and tomatoes, and like they just made salsa on the grill, meat, tamales, tortillas like right there, and just like had like a full-on Mexican barbecue, or a posada, I guess. And it was one of the best things I've ever eaten, just like chilling there, eating this huge like burrito taco tlayuda thing on a mountain while these people are like making mezcal. Really cool. My friend so I went there, I was going to Mexico City for the talk and just to go to the museums. But my friend was doing a group tour in Oaxaca 3 days before I was there, or the week before it. And he was like, just join. And I was like, okay. So I just did his group tour with him because he didn't have enough people to join. So I did that with him. And a lot of it was mezcal focused, which was not my, cup of tea, but it was fun. And then went to some mountain things, like some waterfalls, petrified waterfalls, which was really cool. Very pretty area. It's very deserty. It looked mostly like Southern California, if anything. And like parts of Arizona. Yeah. And then what else did we do? Went to Mitla, which is like supposed to sound like Mictlan, like the land of the dead. And it is another Zapotec like castle funerary place that is in the lowlands. It's not up in the mountains. There's like a town around it now. And of course, the Spanish took part of it down and built a church. But yeah, it's like the city of the dead, and it was like tombs, and it has really cool. It's like Mitla, Mitla is how you say it. Really cool designs and like geometric shapes and stuff into like the tombs. And it's very like, it just looks like you're in like Babylon or something. It was really cool, but like Zapotec. Really cool. Not pyramids, but like just buildings. It was neat. And then let's see, we went to Mitla. And then we went to Carnival proper on Tuesday in this town where everyone dresses up and they like dump motor oil all over themselves to like be covered in black. It stops the sun from getting them or something. I was trying to ask why. But just people like wasted, drinking mezcal, screaming, singing, and like bands and like marching bands and stuff. It was really cool taking pictures. My friend's a photographer, so that's like his goal, was just to go to these things and take pictures of people. I did the same, and I spent most of the time taking pictures of dogs in both spots. And I did find too that like there's a lot of graffiti around town that says like "Gringo Go Home," because they don't like foreigners coming there and like not learning Spanish and driving up the prices of their economy. But the other people I talked to were like, we love it because it, it brings more tourism and our town's doing better and it's cleaner. So, it's just do you want to be colonized or not by white hipsters is essentially the question. And lots of that. And with the Gringo Go Home thing and like get out of our country, or like there was one like learn Spanish dog is like what it says on the graffiti sometimes. I felt weird just sticking my camera in people's faces, but I noticed when I was taking pictures of dogs, people didn't seem to care. Like they were just like, oh, he's taking pictures of dogs. And then I would ask in Spanish, like, what's his name? How old is he? And usually they knew. Other times it was like, I don't know, he's just some street dog. Or sometimes it was a street dog and it had a name with a background story. But most people like immediately lit up and were happy to like answer questions about the dog, because I guess most people don't want to touch them or something. But yeah, I would pet them. And I brought Germ-X with me, so I'd pet all these dogs and then immediately wash my hands. One guy laughed. But yeah, lots of cool dogs. Oh, one of the dogs at the Palenques was like missing an eye, and he was like clearly dying of cancer or something. It was all over his face. And he came up and said hi to me. And then apparently the next day he died, which is a bummer. You know what, with that, take a quick commercial break really quick, and we'll be right back. And we're back with episode 31 of Ethnocynology. We're talking about my trip in Mexico. And again, sorry I'm very quiet in this room. It's like kind of echoey. I'm trying to be quiet. And my mom is also working in the next room, so I'm trying to keep it low. But yeah, that was Oaxaca. And then I took it. Well, there's plenty more I can say about Oaxaca, but I will say this. There's one market we went to. It's like super famous. It's like an ancient Zapotec market, and it's like a mile long. Anthony Bourdain went there to eat in one of his videos, and he said this was like his favorite place he ever had food. And he wasn't wrong. It was really good food. But in that place, there were so many dogs wandering the streets and the markets, just like sleeping in the middle of the alleyways, in the middle of the street, just sleeping by people. And that's where I took a bunch of pictures of dogs, and like everybody was pumped to talk about them and stuff. That was interesting to me. And yeah, background lore on dogs. Like this is Lolita. This is Beans. This is Max. Yeah. And like some dogs were like clearly like had some wounds and stuff like that were not going to be treated by people, and they probably just die, which bums me out. That was Oaxaca. And then we moved I took a bus from Oaxaca to Mexico City, which takes 6 hours. And it was like this cool, like first class bus line. I didn't realize I bought it first. I thought I just bought a regular one. And you get your own little private, like, there's like first class seat on an airplane, but on a bus. And I had like a TV, air conditioning, a light. It was really cool. But really, I wanted to keep the window open. I could have flown for $100. I took the bus for 50. But I wanted to take the bus because I wanted to see the countryside in between Oaxaca and Mexico City, because it's like probably this huge urban sprawl and like lots of cool landscapes. But the people next to me had their blinds closed on the bus, and every time I opened them, they like looked at me, so I closed them, so I couldn't really look out the window. I did peek a few times, and it looked exactly like you would think, just like looked like Mexico outside the whole way there. And then I saw some volcanoes and mountains. Yeah, and we went through Pueblo, which is like the big city south of Mexico City. A lot of archaeological sites there, and like the mountains. It was really cool to see. Yes, I get to Mexico City, and my hotel is right next to the Palacio de Bellas Artes, which is like a big, I mean, I guess it's a palace if that's its name, but like a big government building, not even government building, just a big cultural building where they have like ballets and like plays, concerts, things like that, in the big town square. But right next to that is Tenochtitlan, the Templo Mayor Museum, which I went to the next day, and that was really cool. Like the Templo Mayor outside, where there's still a temple, was underwhelming. I thought it'd be like way bigger, but it was pretty cool because right next to it you see like the Palacio and like the plaza outside, and then there's like, yeah, there's this ancient Mexican city right here. And you go through all that, and then you go into the museum, and the museum was incredible. Knives, ceremonial daggers, again, skeletons galore, which was just freaking me out because I'm not used to seeing so many skeletons at a museum. A whole room of like taxidermy of animals they found there are found at the site, and like a lot of dogs that were eaten. I found a lot of dogs with turkeys, which I found interesting, which means they were being eaten. I found a Mexican wolf skeleton, though it's interesting, there's no mention of wolves in Aztec or Nahua like mythology or lore whatsoever. It's just coyotes and dogs. So they're curious if maybe they just didn't realize coyotes and wolves were different things, or they used the same word. And I'm sure they haven't done genetic sequencing on most of the coyote bones they found, but it's probably some of them are wolves. Yeah, just a lot of dogs and coyotes. And then Hue Hue Coyote, is the like coyote god of the Aztecs, and he was like a big deal. And there's a part of Mexico City named Coyoacan, which is like a neighborhood, and that means coyote land in Nahuatl. And they have the cool statues of coyotes, but they look like Romulus and Remus, which is kind of cool, all over the town or that neighborhood. And yeah, the Templo Mayor Museum was incredible. Just everything they found there. And like what I really liked though was this one section that was like the history of the excavations there. And essentially the Spanish were getting rid of everything. And then the Mexican government later on too, because they were like, we don't need this crap. But these German guys, rich German dudes, pre-World War II and over, and had been working in Greece and Rome and Turkey, and then got an interest in Mesoamerica, and then ended up like these rich guys were like, hey, stop throwing this out, like start cataloging it. So a lot of what we know about ancient Mexico is there because of these rich German dudes, which I found interesting, German avocational archaeologists. And then they show you like how those guys saved this or saved that. They took some back. And that's why some of the really cool stuff for Mexico is in Germany. Like Moctezuma's headdress, I believe, is in Vienna. And like you can't return it because it's just going to fall apart. But like a lot of fancy stuff from Mexico City is in Europe because these guys brought it back. And I had always heard that, you know, oh, it's like the Europeans came and colonized and took it all back. But it's actually like, yeah, the Spanish and the Mexicans were getting rid of their own shit, and these German guys kind of preserved it, which is new to me. It still should go back to Mexico, I believe, at the end of the day. But like, I can see why it was brought to Europe now in a greater context than just Europeans bad. They were actually saving it in essence, which is kind of cool. Then, yeah, the Templo Mayor Museum. I recommend that highly. And I walked around, got some like street food, some of the best tacos al pastor I ever had, like right around my hotel. Elotes, which is like the Mexican street corn on the cob. And you get esquites, which is like the same thing, but like in a bowl with like cheese and mayonnaise and lime and tahini. Delicious. The next day I gave my talk, and my friend Katia Gomez she works at, as a PhD student at UNAM, which is the University Nacional de Mexico, I think is what it's called. The Museum Autonómica de Mexico. So it's like a big public university. It's their Harvard, and it's like the biggest school in Latin America. And their campus was like the size of the town I live in Wyoming. It was huge. And it took a half hour to get an Uber from one side to the other. Giant university. But she gave me a tour of the campus, and there's lots of murals with like Aztec, and like Tlaloc is the rain god, and Huitzilopochtli is the sun god. So there's a lot of like Tlaloc and Huitzilopochtli imagery around the city, because the saying is, I know maize, I know país. So without maize, there's no country. And like corn is a huge thing in Mexico, obviously, same way it is for the Southwest and for Native Americans. But so they still like, not that they worship the rain and sun god, but it's just like a allusion and like a cultural heritage to that, those deities all over the city, and it's in their murals and stuff all over. Really cool. Beautiful university, huge. We went to this museum, like a science museum, got lunch, and like Mexicans love to eat. Everywhere I went, they were like, let's get food, let's grab a bite. And I was like, I'm completely full, and I've been walking all day. Like, I don't want to eat a huge meal. And they would just like chow. Differences in our countries. And then went to give my talk. And luckily, most of the people that I gave the talk to, I'm sure some of you were listening, spoke perfect English. And because you follow my Instagram, so therefore you speak English. And I thought it'd be more students and people from the school, but it was just people from Instagram, which was awesome. Yes, 40 people signed up, but like, I think 25 showed, maybe 20. And yeah, so I just gave the talk in English with some Spanglish in between. And I kept it really informal, which was really fun. It was a new version of my talk at the dog lecture that I posted a few weeks ago to this podcast, but added more about Strider and like nature and like how dogs make us human more so than like just the science of it. And it was a good version of the talk. I enjoyed it. And then the craziest part was just how stoked people were to see me, which is like new. took pictures. I even signed an autograph, that's definitely new for me. I've taken pictures before. People that just seemed like genuinely pumped to see me, which was like really cool, and to meet me. And it was like really cool knowing I have like that big of a fan base. And that's just the people who showed up in Mexico, which was really cool. So I will definitely be back. Talk was really fun. And then, yeah, for those of you who are listening that came to the talk, thank you very much. That was really cool. I will be back. And if I haven't said thank you to you in a message yet, definitely shoot me a message on Instagram and I'll say thanks, or make sure I follow you back. Yeah, really cool. And then that was like why I was there, to give that talk, but mainly why I wanted to go there was to go to the museum and just see Mexico City, because I'd never been. And I was like, well, if I'm there, I'm going to give a talk. Like, why not? So the next day I went to a dog training class with my friend who teaches dog training for like reactive dogs. Went to her like 5-year anniversary of the class. That was fun. Hung out. And then afterwards, when that was over, went right to the Museum of Anthropology. And that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And let's take a quick commercial break before I talk about this for way too long. We'll be right back. And we are back. My microphone stand is falling off of this little picnic table that it is clamped to. We'll see how long it lasts. Okay. So yeah, the Museum of Anthropology, I have heard from multiple people in my life that is like one of the coolest museums you'll ever see. And they were not lying. This was the coolest museum. And I've worked at museums. This was the coolest museum I've ever seen. Huge, gigantic. I spent 6 hours there with my friend from Spain. And then another friend that I just met at the talk came and joined us later. His name was Alvar. Really nice guy. If you're listening, hello. And gave us some more local context. It was cool hearing him explain like things from a Mexican perspective. And then my friend from Spain, who is a dog trainer, was there, and her perspective of things being Spanish, and then my perspective being American, and then hearing them talk she speaks Castilian and Spanish, but him speaking Mexican Spanish, like talking to each other. It was really cool hearing those differences. And then talking about, the fall of Tenochtitlan and like the Maya and the Olmec and all that. That was really fun. There's a really nice restaurant at the museum, and the food was amazing. I got elotes and like fish. That was really, really good. And then, and churros, of course. But yeah, the way I would describe the museum is it's very flat. 3 stories, but like mainly the one floor is the main story. There's upstairs and there's like downstairs parts, like the underworld. But each room is like Toltec, Olmec, Zapotec, Mexica, Maya. And then they had like northern Mexico, which is very Navajo and like Mogollon and Hopi kind of in like art and textile and all that. It just looks like you're in the Southwest, because I mean, it's just a river divides it a little bit. But yeah, like the Maya room, just like the sheer amount of effigies and statues and things they have on display was like, it was overstimulating. My friend and I, Marta, were just like, there's just too much. Like we like couldn't talk. There was just so much to see. And we're trying to see a lot of it and pick in our broken English and Spanish to each other, like pick what was worth seeing and what was worth skipping. And I spent 6 hours there and only saw half the museum. I'd have to go back. But the Maya room was just like insane. We didn't get to see much of the Olmec stuff. The Mexica room was incredible. Just like tons of bifaces and obsidian and like blades and like obsidian blade cores and tools and statues, and just like the giant sun calendar was there, and this huge diorama of like the market at Tenochtitlan, which was incredible to me. And like there was a bench, you just sat there and like looked at it for like a half hour, because it was just so much going on in this little diorama. And they're even selling Xolo dogs at the market. I took some pictures of that, but absolutely incredible. I don't even know like how to like explain the museum other than like you walk in and there's like the Toltec room or the Olmec room or the Teotihuacan room, and then outside, because it's Mexico, so it's like nice weather, you can just like go in and out of the museum with open doors. Outside were like replicas of temples or replicas of tombs. And like the Olmec or the Maya part, it looked like you were in Cancun or Tulum or Palenque, like looking at the temples outside. Really cool. You can't do that in New York because it snows and it's too hot or too cold in the winter. to like see outside stuff. It's all inside. But yeah, the way it was like mixed outside and inside, and then like in the Maya room, you go underground into Xibalba, which is the Mayan underworld. And then you saw Pakal's tomb, like a replica of it to scale, which was incredible. Yeah. And then mainly, guys, I just could not get over how much human remains you can see there. And I was trying to explain to like my friends, like why you can't. And it's like, we're white people in America. It's not our heritage. So like we can't display or like excavate Native American remains. It's not ours. But in Mexico, everyone is indigenous and Spanish. So it's like, they're proud of that and they like happily display. I'm sure there's people that aren't, but yeah, like there's just skulls and skeletons stuff all over. And we went to this Teotihuacan room and there were like maybe more than a dozen bound skeletons that were there with their heads cut off, that were bound. You could see their hands behind their back, that were like sacrificial captives for Teotihuacan. And you can just walk in and see that and just stare at them. And there were some of them that were like these cool, really ornate burials that were just taken from the site and like put on a fake pedestal, but it was the real bones just like sitting out in the open. From what I understood from the description of the like the plaques or like the little infographics next to them, that they were the real bones, though I'm confused as to how those would preserve so well. They had to have been casts, but it said they were real. Maybe they just fossilized so well or something. I don't know. But like just burials. And I just kept going like Nagpra, Nagpra, Nagpra the whole time I was looking at it. Yeah, that was mind blowing. And like just lots of skulls everywhere. And by that time, like the museum was closing, so we had to go. And then what did I do the next day? The next day I went to a local zoo in Coyoacan, and it was like the zoo of the coyotes. And there was just like coyotes and Mexican wolves there and some birds. And with my friend, then she took me to get tacos. Marta joined up again, the Spanish girl, and got tacos. And then we went and got like basically a chocolateria, chocolateria, where you get hot chocolate, you can get tamales. The tamale with mole, which was just so good. But yeah, she was my friend Katia, my friend Marta, and then my friend Laura joined up, the dog trainer. And we got like Mexican hot chocolate and churros that you dip the churros into. And it was just so good. But while that was going on, that's when the government had just killed whoever, the cartel guy. So like we were all kind of just like stressed out, and I was like, fuck. I wasn't worried about the cartels because I was way in Mexico City. That was on the other side of the country. But I was more worried like Trump would say something crazy and I'd get stuck in the country the next day. And I could tell they were like a little like stressed a bit too, but they were trying their best to like just, let's go for a walk. Don't be stressed out kind of thing. So that was really fun. But yeah, great day. And like just a fun way to experience, because I know a lot of people are afraid to travel because you just don't want to go alone, and like the language barrier and like what do you see, it's overwhelming. But like just hanging out with locals in Mexico City as if I was hanging out with friends at a conference, if I was in San Francisco or New York or something, just hanging out with Mexican friends at like places they like to eat and like hearing them speak. And this is the other funny part. I'd spoken so much Spanish the first week in Oaxaca that like by the time I got to the talk, I just could not think in Spanish. Like your head's just exhausted. I can't even explain it other than like your first day of teaching, like the first semester when you're going over the syllabus and stuff, like how drained you are after that. It was like that. Like every day I was just like, I can't fathom speaking Spanish. And my friends luckily spoke perfect English. So they would like speak Spanish to each other and I would respond in English. Or they'd ask me questions and I'd respond in English, but I could hear what they were saying and they could understand me. So it was just kind of fun. Their English is way better than my Spanish, I should also note. Most college educated people in Mexico seem to speak English well, or a lot of people I talk to, even like just regular working class people around town in Oaxaca and Mexico City, had moved to the States to work for like some amount of time. Like one guy worked at a McDonald's in Portland for 10 years. And he's like, I hated it. Didn't like Portland. I'm back now. And then he offered this was at Carnival, just a guy I was talking to. He's a cab driver and offered to get me some beer. So you want a beer? Like we were just talking, but I told him, I would tell most people while I was there, look, I'm an archaeologist. I'm looking for pictures of dogs. I just want to see dogs living as dogs do among human society. And Mexico is a great place for that because they're still respected. They're not just like kicked all the time. This one little lady did beat the dog with a cane. But like, yeah, they're still like, they have names. They seem to be nourished enough. They're not like soup. I didn't see any dog that was like straight up dying, but I'm sure in other parts of the country they are. But yeah, I would explain that. And they were always like very interested, and they'd ask me questions about archaeology and all that. So really fun. I think with that, I'm just going to end the episode there because otherwise I'm just going to yap for another 20 minutes. If you have questions about Mexico or other places I should go in Mexico or other places, because I'm going to go back, I'm going to try to live there at some point. Other places I should see in the world where dogs live like that, or like where I could just go take pictures of street dogs and stuff. I'd love to do that. But yes, a moral of the story is Mexico is awesome. Everyone's very friendly, even in like the other parts where they don't speak any English. Like they're just like extremely welcoming. They want to cook for you. They invite you in. And also the Museum of Anthropology. I'm underselling it in this podcast, but it was the coolest museum I've ever been to. If you ever get the time, go from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. when they close, because you need to see all of it. It was incredible. And the Templo Mayor as well was incredible. Monte Alban was cool. I think probably seeing Teotihuacan is cool. I didn't get to see that. Or seeing the pyramids in Tulum, Palenque, or Cancun are probably cooler than Monte Alban. Monte Alban, I didn't even know existed until this trip. And I was like, wow, this is fascinating. And I met Albert Einstein up there. So anyway, with that, we're going to end it. Thank you very much. And we'll be back to regular scheduled programming with YouTube and all that when I get back to Wyoming in a week or two. So, all right. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. The Archaeology Podcast Network's chief editor is Rachel Roden. Our executive producer is Ashley Airy. Our social media and newsletter coordinator is Matilda Siebrecht. The APN was founded by Chris Webster and Tristan Boyle on December 1st, 2014. We're supported by our amazing podcast hosts, many volunteers, and listeners like you. Check out membership at www.archpodnet.com/members.
This has been a presentation of the Archaeology Podcast Network. Visit us on the web for show notes and other podcasts at www.archpodnet.com. Contact us at chris@archaeologypodcastnetwork.com.